All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're going to venture into the dark, crushing pressures of the abyss, all to explore one of the most terrifying legends that has ever risen from the depths, the Kraken. We're going to try and uncover what this myth tells us about our own, really deep-seated fear of the unknown.
Wow, I mean, that quote just perfectly sets the scene, doesn't it? It really captures that chilling feeling of just looking out over the open ocean and wondering, what is really down there, you know? The idea of this colossal, shadowy beast has haunted our collective imagination for generations.
And this is the number that fuels that fear. 95%. That is how much of our planet's oceans are still completely unexplored, totally unmapped, and unseen by human eyes. It is, without a doubt, the largest and the last true wilderness we have left on Earth.
And a wilderness that vast? Well, it's just the perfect breeding ground for nightmares. Our fear of the deep isn't really just about the water itself, it's about what our minds imagine is waiting for us in that endless, silent, crushing darkness.
I mean, think about it. From the earliest sailors sharing stories in some dimly lit tavern to the blockbuster movies we watch today, the ocean has always been the home of monsters. And these weren't just spooky stories either. They were almost like a cultural map for sailors, shaping a whole maritime culture with warnings of dangers, some real, some imagined, that literally dictated where ships would and would not dare to go.
So, let's dive into the legend itself. Where did the story of this specific monster, the Kraken, actually come from? Well, its history is just as deep and murky as the waters it supposedly calls home.
It all kicks off in Old Norse sagas, with these incredible tales of a beast so massive it could be mistaken for an island. Then, fast forward to the 18th century, and these stories evolve into terrifying eyewitness accounts from sailors. Then, in the 19th century, science gets involved. But honestly, the early misidentifications of real creatures only poured gasoline on the fire. And today, the Kraken is a full-blown pop culture icon. It is the ultimate symbol of what lurks below.
But here's the thing you have to understand. The Kraken was never just a sea monster. It was a symbol of nature's raw, untamable power. If you're a sailor in a tiny wooden boat, the Kraken is the living embodiment of the ocean's ability to just swallow you whole without a trace. It gave a face to that feeling of being completely and utterly helpless against the elements.
So, okay, we've got the myth, we've got the symbol, and we've got all of this fear. But was there anything real behind all these stories? I mean, did sailors actually see something out there in the waves that could explain this incredible legend? This is the big question. It's the one that bridges all that folklore with actual biology. And the answer is a fascinating yes, but. Just look at the contrast here. On one side, you have the mythical Kraken, this evil, ship-sinking monster. And on the other, the likely real-world inspiration, the giant squid. It's not a monster, but a real, incredibly elusive animal living at depths we can barely even reach. So can you imagine an encounter between a tiny wooden ship and a 40-foot squid? Oh yeah, that would absolutely become the stuff of legend. But even knowing the likely scientific explanation, it doesn't just erase the fear, does it? The idea of the Kraken still has so much power. And that's because the real monster isn't just in the ocean. It's also in our minds. You know, there's actually a name for this specific fear: thalassophobia. It's not just a fear of water, but a deep fear of its vastness, its depth, and that hidden emptiness within it. It's the perfect psychological environment for a creature like the Kraken to thrive in our imagination. And this, right here, illustrates why perfectly. It's the classic monster in the closet effect. The moment you turn on the light and see it's just a pile of clothes, the fear is gone. But as long as that door is closed, your imagination can cook up something far more terrifying than anything that could possibly be real. Well, the deep ocean is the world's biggest closet. Our brains are basically hardwired for this. When we're faced with a vast unknown, like the deep sea, our minds cannot stand an information vacuum. It's an old survival instinct. So what does the brain do? It fills in the blanks. And believe me, it doesn't fill them with peaceful fish and gentle currents. It populates that void with our worst-case scenarios. It fills them with monsters.
So, how does this ancient fear show up in our modern world? Well, even in an age of science and amazing technology, the Kraken's shadow is longer than ever. The archetype it created is, frankly, everywhere. We see its influence in giant monsters in sci-fi films, and, of course, terrifying creatures in deep-sea horror games. But it also pops up in more subtle ways.
Every time scientists discover a truly bizarre new creature from the depths, something like a goblin shark or a vampire squid, it taps into that same primal feeling. It's a little reminder that reality can be just as strange, if not stranger, than any myth we could dream up.
And that's the crucial point here. Our exploration doesn't always get rid of the myths. Sometimes it actually reinforces them. The more we learn about the true oddities of the deep sea, these creatures that live without sunlight under impossible pressures, the more plausible the whole idea of some undiscovered colossal beast starts to seem. And this leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. As we send our technology deeper and deeper into that final, unexplored 95%, what are we truly looking for? Are we just driven by the pure pursuit of scientific wonder? Or is there a deeper, more primal part of us that is secretly hoping and fearing that we'll finally turn on the light and find that the monster in the closet was real all along?